British manufacturing leaders are fearing an industrial collapse as spiralling gas and electricity prices overwhelm the country's energy defences. Andrew Large, outgoing chairman of the Energy Intensive Users Group, has labelled it as potentially catastrophic. I'm joined now by British commentator and broadcaster Darren Grimes. Darren, good to see you. What does this potential energy price crisis mean for the UK, for households and for industry?
Well, I mean, Rita, I never thought I'd see anything like this in my lifetime. I tell you what, I've witnessed scenes like this from documentaries from the 1970s in which Britain famously endured a winter of discontent. Well, I'm afraid what we're seeing risks actually bringing about similar scenes, right? British manufacturing, as you say, talking about an industrial collapse. And I'm afraid to say, Rita, that our rush for renewables, our reliance, frankly, upon Putin's gas, who has his boot placed firmly over the throat of the continent of Europe, by the way, I think it's time to get serious on a sort of nuclear shale gas revolution where those windmills that require tons of coal, as you well know, and solar panels just aren't able to power a nation. And you're seeing scenes where, according to the energy advisor Cornwall Insight, wind, which typically accounts for about 18% of the nation's power mix, has dropped to just 2% in the past month, Rita. That's why we're in a perilous position. And that's why I think it's time to get real.
Well, you need to have reliable sources of energy, and that's one of the problems with wind. Now, I want to ask you about this troubling story from the UK with a woman who's been left partially
Mm.
paralysed after she suffered a stroke because she couldn't get medical attention as quickly as she needed due to climate change protesters blockading the road. We've had protesters today from the construction industry blockading a major road. But tell us about this story and what looks like a tragic outcome.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine anything more traumatic than watching your mother decline whilst you know that without these sort of petulant prats from the green extreme on the roads, you'd be able to get your mother to hospital so she could be treated in time and not suffer, see a minor, what could have been a minor stroke turn into full-scale paralysis, Rita. I cannot imagine anything more
Mm.
traumatizing. And I also can't imagine what kind of person you'd have to be, Rita, to get your kicks from preventing trips to the hospital and preventing working people who are seeking to earn an honest livelihood and making their lives an utter misery. And I'm afraid to say that this is what gets me about these people from this offshoot of Stinky Rebellion or whatever they call themselves. It's this vegan activist class, right? They tell us that what they're doing is calling for Britain to insulate its homes and get ourselves out of fuel poverty. Well, frankly, Rita, I can't believe the audacity of these people to lecture us about poverty when its prescription would actually immiserate, not insulate Britain. And frankly, I think that what we're experiencing, as we've just spoken about right now, as far as manufacturing and all of these other energy intensive industries are concerned, I think right now, as the wind farms stand motionless and you've got a cable from France has set on fire, and Russia, and over dependence on Russia with them squeezing our supply, all of these things suggest that the path that we're on, as far as energy costs and concerns are concerned, it's really important to actually look at what happens in practice. Do you remember, Rita, when President Trump pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Accords and the
Mm.
commitments made there? And they still remain on track and remained on track at that time to meet their targets years early, despite not being party to them. And it was because they looked at the shale gas revolution and gave some really people that deserve it high skill, high wage jobs in an industry as well, without having to subsidize unreliable renewable technology. That's what we should be doing. That's what we should be looking at. And at the end of the day,
Well,
this
no chance
country,
of that happening,
no
Darren, because
chance.
your Prime Minister has become some sort of a green crusader. He was elected as a Tory and he's I don't know, he's got some massive green credentials now, and we've discussed previously why that's come about. Always good to hear from you. Thank you for joining us, Darren Grimes.
Thank you.